Alright, what's up guys? This is part 2, picking back up on the Mutulu Shakur vid that we just recently did. So, the prison industrial complex, the vicious, cruel cycle of prison. Mr. Shakur, or Dr. Shakur rather, was speaking about. It made me think. It made me really think, because over the past few months or years, I've just been diving deep into this system because I personally realized how cruel and vicious and inhumane it is, and how falsified it is, just to get a conviction, just to lock someone up, just to ruin someone, by overcharging, manipulating the juries, handily picking juries that are not of the defendant's peers. Most people behind bars are in fact non-violent, low-level offenders, and according to the federal the statistic.prisonpolicy.org, 72% of federal prisoners are serving time for non-violent offenses and have no history of violence. That means they're locking these young men and women up, ruining their name, ruining their image for non-violent petty crimes. You sold a little bit of weed here, and they made that legal now. Or you stole a little something here. Now you're locked up behind bars, you're arrested, and you might not have the financial resources to defend yourself in the court of law, because the game is you got to have the resources in order to have adequate, good representation to protect yourself. That's why a lot of these people on one side of town get off on tons of crimes, and people on the other side happen to be a victim of the system. I mean, you got 72% of people in there for non-violent petty crimes, and then they try to say, and you can never believe, everything they say with these statistics. They always it depends. They either under staticize percentages when it's in their favor, or overdo it when it's in their favor. For example, populations. They claim that roughly 70% of the American population is white. However, you got different races of people and ethnics, groups of people who can classify and consider themselves as white. So you got to be analytical now. So you figure that 70% realistically you could cut in half, because half the people that are claiming that are not of that race. Just like they say blacks are 13% of the population, when in fact that number has been the same for decades after decades after decades. And that implies we had a stagnant birth death ratio, and that's just not true or possible whatsoever. You got to be analytical with these things. But back to the prison population. I mean, man, it's such a vicious, rough, evil system. To throw these charges on these young men and women, they pay their debt into society with their time and freedom, and the interest is a loss of rights. You lose your right to privacy, you lose your right to vote, you lose your right to freedom and life, liberty, and happiness. And they claim this system is for quote unquote rehabilitation, when in fact the recidivism rate is, and that's just another term for repeated offender. It's just a legal term for repeated offender. So the recidivism rate is a sky high of 70 plus something percent. So the system, in order to the people, is failing, but to the government who initially created it, it's working. So this is what it is planned to do. And it's ruining a lot of people's lives, man. I mean, you get these charges, you get this felony charge on your record, you come out to society, you can't get a bank loan. You can't go to a college or school, educational institution with these charges. You can't get employed, you can't get a job. So what do? You lose faith in the system, you lose faith in society, and you ultimately repeat, getting this vicious cycle of repeating crime, because you need to eat. So what are you going to do? Still, you're living amongst, people who've been in the system already and who adopted and adapted this system, violence and crime. So, that's all you hang around. They say you are who you hang around. So now you're just constantly surrounded by it. You can't get a bank loan because they're going to deny you for that. And then the cycle continues. I think this is something that really needs to be heavily, attention and light needs to be shed on it. Something needs to be done, because it's just inhumane and cruel. And, it's a topic that definitely needs to be, reckoned with. So I think I'm going to even go as far as doing a part 3, guys. So stay tuned. Part 3 coming.